did the fence and moved it, and then they brought in the armed forces and riot gear showed up. There was the guys with the tank with the lights on it. And hundreds of people followed, but Letitia and I were right behind this one woman who stood up and actually moved the barricade. And she said, "This is my land, this is my government, and I'm going through."
The wife was down in the basement with our grandson, and we thought the roof was coming off. It was quite an experience, something that I never experienced. It was definitely a circle wind. I could see the circle wind coming. I don't know. It was a twister, tornado, or I guess just like when they say it sounds like a freight train on TV, when you see it on the news, it's hard to imagine, but I heard the sound, and it's definitely something I've never heard before.
If convicted on the murder charge, he faces life imprisonment. The burglary charge could lead to 30 years in jail plus a $10,000 fine. Butler pled not guilty to both charges. 29 seniors received diplomas during graduation ceremonies held at Arlington Memorial High School on Saturday, June 10th. Several received special awards and recognition as they left the familiar setting of their school campus and began the next chapters of their lives. Incumbent Carol Latuga is stepping down after serving 16 years on the Select Board. Jan Nolan, a political newcomer, and Karen Giriak, who's making her third try for a seat on the Select Board, have thrown their hats in the ring.
Okay, call goes out to Manchester Rescue Squad. Google says it's going to take them 31 minutes by the road to reach that guy laying on the ground. A little faster if they speed. That's a long time for Daddy. But a drone, like the FlyPulse, carrying a life-saving defibrillator, traveling 70, 80, 100 miles per hour from point A to point B would make it there in minutes.
Today, we're going to be hearing from Deborah, who will tell us a little bit about how opioids changed her life.
I'm here speaking on a disease that devastates families. I call it the other side of addiction. This addiction has affected my life for over 30 years.
Let's define hardware store a little bit, right? So I hear mulch, topsoils. That instantly to me means there's gonna be some heavy equipment. Bobcat, something to load this kind of stuff. Okay, lumber. What else are you considering in the back? It's kind of my point. And how do you access, since we have the house right next door here, how does the water runoff with all that kind of affect my well system, which is right up on your property line here?
Arlington. Today, we're back and taking a look at the rest of the library, part of a series of visits to local libraries in the towns of the North Shire. In coming weeks, we'll be visiting other libraries in different area towns, looking at what they offer their communities and what makes them different and unique.
So this year we're going to stop in, we're going to see what it's all about, and I think you're going to find it fascinating. Yep. And by the sound of that, that means I need to get the hell out of the way. So enjoy.
I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of people here in town, and I get a sense of complacency and the overall attitude that Manchester, it's a small town, it'll never happen here. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not true. Look at Sandy Hook. It can happen anywhere at any time, and I just want this community to become better prepared to a serious incident such as an active shooter.
And with that, it was official. Governor Phil Scott spent Wednesday, October 10th, traveling across the North Shire, making several stops in Manchester, including one at the Hampton Inn and Suites, where he cut the ceremonial ribbon for the new bus service that connects Manchester and Bennington with the train and bus stations in Albany, New York. As well,
you can do a whole day of story walking from Manchester to Arlington to Shaftesbury and then down to the Aiken Trail in Bennington. So it's a full day or 4 full days. Yeah.
Very
fun
cool.
with your parents.
Cool. Nice job. You did it. So
is this a first take? That's it then?
Oh, I wasn't recording. Oh my God.
We have to say it all again.
Every year we have a tree for the Veterans Home. We used to have the outside tree for the Veterans Home. It would come from here. And over the last few years, the porch tree would come from Jim White's farm in Shaftesbury.
But what happens when you run out of trees?
Well, then someone else is going to have to pick up the effort, and I hope they will. But we have about 100 trees still left here, so we're in good shape for a while.
Philip Grubb-Bourne of Bourne's Tire and Auto in Manchester, said owners of older cars may have a decision to make after the new rules come into effect later this month.
Well, I think that it's going to, once we get it all up and running and learn the technology, but on older vehicles, it's going to be harder for customers to repair their car on a car that's over 10 years old that has an evap leak, and it's not any danger to the vehicle or to people on the road, but it has a small gasoline vapor going into the air, and these people are not going to be able to get their cars inspected.
Icy Palmer was not the name given to me by my parents, who were Native Americans of the Tuscarora tribe. They came through Manchester in September 1824, and my mother gave birth to me in a sugar house 2 miles south of town, on land that is now the location of the Equinox Valley Nursery. Also on that site was the home of George S. Purdy and family. For reasons known only to my parents, they didn't want to or were unable to keep me.
All right, what's the story about this one?
So this is a great story. This winter I went to a elderly home area, and 4 of the women were looking at the photos, and I said, does anybody know who this person is? And all of a sudden this woman burst into tears and held the picture like this and said that was my husband, and that
my God.
this was in World War II and just before he shipped out.
So
that was really moving.
Well, how did you know to bring that? I mean,
it was just, once again, these piles that I had no idea. And
you
this
just
one,
picked this one.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there
Yeah.
waiting for this to show up again.
Yep.